Never have a toxic fight again. Today's episode of the Ultimate Intimacy Podcast. Is that possible?
I think it is.
All right. Well,
I mean, that's going to look different to everyone. Toxic fight. Like, you'll probably still have
what is
arguments or
toxic? What is not
disagreements.
toxic?
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
Amy put together today's episode. She read it off to me this morning in bed, and I think it's a really good one.
Okay, so Tamara Fackrell was on our podcast quite a while ago talking about respect and arguing in marriage, right? Or
Hmm.
just respect in marriage in general. And I saw a video of hers pop up, and she has this system. I think she called it like the ABCDE system. And so I was thinking about that all morning while I was laying there, and I added an F and a G to it because I felt like it needed two more things to what she was saying. And so I'm going to give her credit for like quite a bit of it, and I'm going to take the credit for the end of it.
Yeah, I think she was on episode 111, and it was one of the best episodes we've ever had. So if you haven't listened to that
Right.
episode, go back and listen to that. It's on conflict resolution.
Hmm.
She is a divorce attorney that's trying to save marriages. Yes, you heard me correctly, a divorce attorney trying to put herself out of business. It's a great episode.
It
Go
was
check it
awesome.
out. So I'm glad that this caught your attention from her as well, because everything that we've seen from her is really
She's
good.
just like super straightforward and like, well, if you have this issue, then stop doing it. Like, this is how. And it's very much like implement, you know what I mean? So, anyways, I think this will be a really it came to my mind because they were talking about in this podcast that I saw um how most people just need a couple tools, but it really doesn't come down to how you disagree or how much arguments. They were saying like this, the average couple usually has the same fight
Yeah.
over and over and over because the problem is that you're never like actually resolving it
Yeah, I
or
totally
actually
agree.
stopping what's happened or actually clearing, like getting the resentment, the frustration, getting it out in a healthy way and then moving on. And so so I kind of added that to it.
I
So
totally agree with that. I would say that's probably true. In hearing from a lot of people, and then also looking at our life, a lot of the conflict is the same thing over and over.
it's usually the same thing. It's
Yeah,
the same old spill, right? So if you're fighting about one thing, you'll probably find, I mean, if you look back at your own marriage, you're like, yep, that big chunk of time when we were arguing, it was usually kept coming back to the same old
or
disagreement
certain
or
triggers,
certain,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So anyways, okay, so let's just jump in. Okay, so we're gonna call this the ABCDEFG system for stopping toxic fighting. And A is just super easy, acknowledge. Recognize and validate that you're both have your own feelings, you and your spouse, and just
And
acknowledging like what the direct problem is. And I'm seeing that this is frustrating for us. Like, let's try and fix this. Like, I think you have to acknowledge that something's super off,
and
right?
acknowledge there is a problem, right? Because
Right,
a lot of times people argue, and the point is they're arguing against like the issue. Like,
right.
I don't do that. No, that's not an issue, or
Hmm.
what have you. So yeah, I think
Being
it's
defensive.
yeah, you have to acknowledge that hey, something's wrong. Here's what the problem is.
So in this sense, it would be more lowering your defensiveness and like both agreeing in a cooperative tone that like it needs to be fixed.
Hmm.
So this what we're talking about is like pushing it under the rug, right? Like, oh, we fight about that, so we're not going to talk about it. Like you're
Oh,
fighting
and
and you're
I
arguing and disagreements are never going to get better if you can't come together and be like, this is a problem in a marriage. Like we need to fix this.
and for a long time, if you were to look under our rug here at home, you would find a stash, a huge stash, because I
Okay.
was really good at sweeping things under the rug.
You loved
Oh,
to
I
sweep things
love to
under
do
there.
that. And
Nick's very passive, doesn't like to argue, and
I've
he's
gotten
like,
better, but
you still hate it.
I still don't like it, yeah, for sure. But yeah, sweeping things under the rug absolutely does not work.
It does not work. Okay. So once you acknowledge something's wrong, and it's how you acknowledge too. Let's point that out. It's not like, why do you always do this? Or you're always blah, blah, blah. It's like acknowledging, hey, there's a disconnect here. Do you think we can discuss this? Instead of like flipping out on your spouse and like causing all this tension or start yelling at them, right? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
right? So obviously in marriages, some things have to boil to a point where someone kind of loses it. I think that's normal. But
and I want to say this, it's totally normal to have conflict. So Amy and I aren't sitting here saying that
right.
you got to get rid of every amount of conflict in your relationship because it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's
Mhm.
unrealistic to think that that's going to happen. But we're talking to the couples that have conflict where things blow up and it's arguing
Right.
over the same thing over and over again. And these blow ups happen where, it affects things big time, maybe for a few days, a week,
Mhm.
whatever, right? Like it's like that constant frustration. We're not talking to couples that have disagreements once in a while or things like that. Like those are totally normal and totally healthy in a marriage. So,
I still think that you can have respectful disagreements
oh,
though. So
100%.
I think everything that we're going to talk about can look at like lots of different levels,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
I
Because
just
you can have toxic disagreements, you can have a toxic argument, you can have a super toxic fight, you can have toxic communication, really.
yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree. I just wanted to make the point as we're getting started that like it is totally normal to have disagreements and they're
Mhm.
they're going to continue to happen. But
Right.
like you said, getting them in a way where they can be beneficial and really good rather than causing issues.
Right. Right. Okay. So A is acknowledge, and then B is breathe or just take a break. So this is really just simple. Take a breath before reacting. Before you lash out, before you start pointing fingers, before you freak out on them. We've all done it. We've all done it.
Well, you see a lot of people that, and I would say looking back at people that I know that were in an abusive relationship, spouse would react
Mm,
and then realize, oh my heck, I totally reacted the wrong way, even though they wouldn't admit it. But it was like
mm,
a reaction, and then it was kind of scary because then what are the consequences going to be,
right.
right? So I think that's a great point. Is like, don't be so quick to react. Maybe let things sink in, breathe, take some time to think about it, um, and then react in the appropriate way.
Well, and I think we're obviously all human, so sometimes we just kind of like freak out, right? But I think if we can like learn or like self-habit to, okay, I need to cool down, say to your spouse, like, I'm gonna probably say something I'm gonna regret. Can I have 5 minutes to cool down, 10 minutes to cool? And then let's please come talk about this,
Yeah,
right? Like we
absolutely.
have to like learn to like calm our emotions when we're really frustrated. Marriage is like one of those tests that's gonna bring out frustrations and emotions that you didn't know you had, right?
Well, and I think that's good too because anytime you say something that you regret, you can never take it back, no matter
Right,
what. And so, like you
right.
said, just saying, "All right, I need a sec. Just give me a few minutes."
I think in marriage, if we all could just learn to be better at thinking before we react. This is really hard when you're
Oh, it
frustrated
totally
or
is.
mad or they make you really angry or do something that just sets you off. But if we can take the time and space to think, okay, how do I react to this? How do I be more kind in my reactions? Do I need to take a breath? Do I need to go outside and just cool down for a second and then come back?
I need
Like,
to take a week. I need to disappear for a week. And
no,
I'm
let's not
joking.
do
I'm
that.
joking. Don't do that. I'm joking.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Please don't do
Stop with
that.
it.
Okay, so C is communicate calmly after you've taken a little break. So if anyone's listening and like, yeah, we do argue quite a bit, or we disagree quite a bit, or we have these really toxic fights, thinking about, okay, after taking that, okay, big breath, right? Calm
Serenity.
down, serenity now.
Serenity.
How do you come back and not say, you did this, you do this, you do this, you do this? I'm guilty of this. I feel ignored when you're sitting on your phone. Or I feel this way when this is happening in our marriage. Or like because when you say this is how I feel, you can't argue with feelings. We've talked
Hmm.
about that, right? And it's more like maybe I'm in the wrong, but this is how I feel. Let's talk about it instead of why do you always blah 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 or why can't you blah blah, like
For sure.
right.
Yeah, because anytime you start putting each other on the defensive, then it goes to defending yourselves, right?
Mhm.
Well, I did this because you did this.
Right.
Well, I did this because you did this. And then it goes into the defensive mode rather than, hey, let's talk about this. Why are we feeling the way that we
Mhm.
do? What can we do about it? And it's so much easier said than done.
I
I mean, we're making it sound like it's really easy, and we recognize it's not,
It
but
took us years.
but it can be done. Like
It
our
can be done.
our arguments or disagreements are a lot different than maybe they were, at the first of our marriage,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
the way we resolve them as well. So,
I mean, we work full time together all day long. I mean, we're always together. We still have things that we very much like frustrate or disagree on, But I do feel like we have come full circle from going from like toxic, I don't want to speak to you for days, to okay, let's talk about this. Are you willing to listen right now?
Hmm.
Are you willing to hear me right now? This is how I feel. This is what you said that hurt my feelings, whatever. Let's talk about it. Well, I didn't mean it like that. Okay, like when you're willing to like have that conversation instead of just sit and point fingers and yell at each other. I just learning how to be respectful and not yell at each other like has changed everything.
Oh yeah, because
Changed
it
everything.
yeah, because we're talking to each other a totally different way rather than like I said, getting defensive and pointing the finger. No, I did this because you did this, and
And that never goes anywhere.
it turns into like a competition, right? Like
Hmm.
you're trying to prove your point, which
Right.
never works.
Never works. Okay. So communicate calmly is number C. Number D is don't defend, discuss solutions. So this one is like resisting the urge to prove your point. And I suck at this. I'm always like trying to get my point across, like
Oh, I
why I
think
feel a certain way, why
I think we're
I'm
all like that, right?
frustrated. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's natural is like to defend ourselves and
Hmm.
put the blame somewhere else. I mean, because it takes a lot of humility to say, yeah, I totally screwed up, my fault. I'm sorry. I mean, that takes a lot of humility and it's hard to do.
And if both people don't have a lot of humility,
Yeah, yeah,
it's hard,
it is.
right?
It
It's
is
really,
really
really
hard.
hard. When there's marriages that one person can be like, okay, I can see, like, I'm sorry that you felt like when someone could just be that bigger person and say that, like, it changes everything.
And yeah, what usually happens is when you say, you know what, I was in the wrong, I'm totally sorry. What usually happens?
The other person has nothing to be mad about anymore.
Yeah, the other
The
person's like, yeah,
argument ends.
yeah. Or the other person's like, you know what, I'm sorry too. And then hopefully it's over.
Yeah.
I mean that's happened a bunch of times in our relationship, like, right? Like I'm like,
I'm just gonna be completely honest. Like, sometimes I'm like, really? Like, just sorry? Like, there's nothing to argue about now? Like, you're just
do
sorry. You're
you
literally just sorry. Yeah,
do you want to
and
argue about something?
he's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like, "Ooh." It's just like ends it that
How can you
quick.
say you're sorry? Oh,
Do you actually mean it?
do you
No.
actually mean it?
Oh, okay. So defense blocks empathy and problem solving creates teamwork.
Hmm.
So I think that you probably get to some certain point in your marriage like we did where you're just like, oh my gosh, like enough. I can't argue about this anymore. I don't want to argue about this anymore. I'm tired about arguing about this. I I think you just get to a point where you're like, do we want a happy marriage? Like, do we want a peaceful marriage? Like, how do we work these arguments or disagreements so that we don't have to be doing this all the time, right? We came to a day like that. I'm like, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. Can't do this anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
We had a day like that, and it was just
Like, we would
awakening.
we would call it a come to Jesus.
Can't do it I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Can we please just resolve it, right? So can we, I guess that's the key statement. Can we please just resolve this? Takes
Yeah.
two, takes both people, takes a lot of humility, takes a lot of forgiveness, patience, all those things to be like, hey, let's just please be a team, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
And I like that.
I
Going
like
back,
that.
because we talk about that all the time, being a team rather than working against each other. And I think that happens a lot in arguing.
And that comes with number E, that is empathy. To close the talk with kindness, appreciation. I know this was a hard conversation. It was really important to me that we had it. Thank you for spending the time and keeping it respectful, you know?
And trying to understand where your spouse is coming from. And the worst thing you can do is just dismiss their feelings and say, what you're saying is lame. I don't care. I don't agree with it. Like, try to understand at least where your spouse is coming from. Even if you don't agree, at least say, yeah, I'm going to try to understand where you're coming from. And even though I may not agree with it, I'm going to listen and I'm going to try to understand. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if you agree with a lot of the things. And it's totally fine if you see things differently,
Mhm.
but still
Mhm.
coming together.
Yeah, there are still things that we completely disagree on, and it's never going to be changed for either of us. And we both just had to like bury it. Like, you're this way, I'm this way, you were raised this way, I was raised this way. It's not worth fighting it. How do we make it work in our marriage
Yeah,
where we both see that there's two different sides, right?
for sure.
So, okay, so this one is really important. We're gonna spend like literally maybe 10 minutes on this one, but it's forming boundaries with your arguments. And I know we've talked about this like in the past, but there's 5 healthy boundaries I want to talk about to set. I don't know if Tamara is it Tamara, right? Talked about setting boundaries with her. I
I
can't
don't
remember in
recall.
that
Yeah.
podcast. But the first one, these are ones that we really believe in. That is no yelling, no name calling, or character attacks. We can disagree, but we won't disrespect. That's literally what it is. We can disagree. We're not going to disrespect. And it's okay to disagree. It's not okay to start yelling names, calling names, swearing at each
Well, think
other,
about it.
being
Like,
toxic.
what does calling your spouse a rude name have anything to do with trying to solve a problem? It
It
has
doesn't.
absolutely nothing. It's just disparaging them and putting them down. And I know you get frustrated, and a lot of spouses will say, "Well, I was just frustrated and mad." But going back to it, like, if you say something mean or vulgar or something to your spouse, like you can never take your words back.
Right.
So just be very, very careful what you say. And luckily, I mean, for us, we've never really had that issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we have arguments, we're not like just disparaging or
No,
saying
no.
mean things. And so we
But
haven't
it comes back to like we were talking about the last one or two ago, like that was the way you were kind of raised though.
for sure.
If you came from a home where there was a lot of yelling and screaming, you might have picked that up. That might have been something that you
Yeah,
were taught
you're totally
is
right.
show your frustrations
Because
that way,
I
right?
came from a home, although my parents are divorced and they did not get along, they never yelled at each other
It was
or
more just disconnect,
yeah, it was
yeah.
more disconnect. So you're right. I mean that's how I was raised, so that's why I probably got some of those bad tendencies and had to learn in our marriage how to kind of fight those. But yeah.
I could say that my dad, although he wasn't like an angry person, there were times that he would get angry. And so I saw more that verbal side, not like really rude side, but more vocal.
Hmm. And you're more vocal in
I'm
our
probably more
relationship for
vocal in our
sure.
relationship, but we've had to have these discussions. Like, I was raised like this, you were raised like this. How do you feel when it's like this? Like, okay, let's talk about like why we're the way we are and how we can like find a
But I
good, healthy
think
balance of how to handle it, right?
But I love what you are getting into with boundaries is even though we were raised this way, we need to talk about what's
Ours.
acceptable and not acceptable in our relationship. And these things are not acceptable. We're not going to call each other names. We're not going to do
Yeah.
this. We're not going to, physically
Hmm.
do anything. I think setting those boundaries is so important because for a lot of couples, if they've never talked about setting those boundaries, they don't know that what they're doing is necessarily
Hmm.
wrong or
Right.
is crossed a boundary. I mean, and this goes in so many areas, but arguing, if you don't know what that boundary is and you cross it and all of a sudden your spouse is like, I can't believe you crossed that boundary.
Hmm.
Well, I didn't even know we had a boundary, right?
Right.
And sometimes we just assume that, oh, there's these things that are okay and these things are not okay. But no, like Amy said, in every relationship, the way you were raised, what you experienced, like a lot of
Hmm.
us don't know what's healthy or not healthy.
Right. Right. No, I think
So,
and she talked in podcast episode 111 where she talked about if you wouldn't say it to your boss, don't say it to your spouse. Like we've lived by that, I feel like ever since that podcast.
for sure.
Like why would your spouse get less respect than a stranger or someone outside of your home? Like
Yeah.
why,
The
right?
person you're supposed to love
Yeah.
gets less respect than maybe your boss, right? You wouldn't say it to your boss because he'll can you.
Right.
But so why would you say it to your spouse?
And
Someone
why
that
is
you
that okay
love.
to say to
Yeah.
your spouse? So, but here we are in these marriages where we're doing life with this person, like everything in life with this one person. They're going to frustrate us, right? And those are the times it might be easy to respect your boss. It might be really hard to respect your spouse when they're doing things that just frustrating the heck out of you
Hmm.
sometimes. You know what I mean? But that's what I loved about that one is no yelling, no name calling, no character attacks. You can't take that stuff back. So you can disagree, but you absolutely need to set rules that I will not be disrespected when we are fighting.
Hmm.
So some of the things you can do is absolutely no name calling. I'm going to walk out of the room if something like that comes out of your mouth. I'm going to leave, and we will finish this disagreement, discussion, whatever, after you calm down.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be told or name called. If your voice, these are things you can set in your marriage. If your voice starts to rise and I start to feel uncomfortable, like you're starting to get really angry with me, we are going to take a pause and I'm going to leave until you can calm down. Like, I think that's self-respect to be like, I'm not going to be talked to like that. So if you're going to scream at me, yell at me, say rude things to me, I'm not going to be talked to like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I'm gonna chain you to the door and make sure that yeah. No, I'm just joking.
Just joking. He's joking. Okay.
If your anger gets the best of you, we're gonna chain you to the door, and that way I can taunt you and I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
That's what not to do.
What not to
What
do,
not to do by
exactly.
Nick.
Yeah, what not to do.
Okay, number 2 is no interrupting, take turns talking because you both deserve to be heard. And so, boundary number 2, what I think she did talk about this in her podcast, where when couples are like talking over each other like
Hmm.
crazy, she hands them a pencil and says, unless you're holding that pencil or whatever she said, and maybe she's working with divorce people that were getting divorced, and so she has a lot of fighting come in her office. She's like, unless you're holding that pencil, you're not speaking.
And that is so hard to do because again, we go in defensive mode, and when someone's like expressing things to us, we want to justify why we're acting that way.
Well, I told you that that's why blah 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 right in the middle of their
And it's
sentence,
almost
right?
like whoever can over talk the other one or get the most words in feels like
It's
they
gonna
win,
win.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think that's great advice. It's so hard to do, but just sitting there and listening and saying until it's my turn to talk, I need to listen.
So if you have a problem with this in your marriage, like you really do, like your spouse maybe has a personality where they're talking all over and you're like, I can't get out what I want to say. How are we supposed to fix this thing that's driving us both mad if I can't get my words out? Maybe you do grab a pencil or something and say,
Duct
we're
tape.
going to take
Duct tape over the mouth. That'll work.
what not to do, duct tape. Another, maybe you could hand the roll of duct tape if that's what
I,
you're
I
saying.
was gonna say duct tape for my mouth, right? Like I have a roll of duct tape. All right, I know I talk a lot, so just throw that over the
No,
mouth
you
and
don't.
remind me that I need to.
Um, anyways, however that looks in your marriage, don't be talked over. Like set a boundary where like this is how it's gonna work in our marriage so that we both get to hear what we have to say.
Hmm.
Right?
Absolutely love it. This
Okay.
is great advice.
And maybe just like let me finish my thought and then I'll listen to your thoughts. I will 100% listen to you. Just let me get out my 2 minutes that I want to say. You know?
Yeah.
It's just that easy
Yep.
and be mature about it. Okay, number 3, take a time out when it gets too heated. Like just I already said this, but if it starts getting really escalated and talks like start yelling, or you can just feel your blood boiling, you're like, I'm gonna say something I'm gonna regret.
Talking heated in a
Time out.
is like a heated argument, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about is arguments.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was just
Where's your
clarifying.
mind going?
No, I was just clarifying.
I'm gonna
I
pull back and nick into
no, 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 no. I
reality.
was just clarifying. That's
Okay.
what when things get heated, that could be interpreted a few ways.
Okay.
So
Well, the topic is arguments right
yes,
now.
yes, that's what I assumed.
It's okay to pause. It's not avoiding, it's protecting. And that's the quote I want everyone to remember is it's okay to pause. It's not avoiding, it's protecting. If you have to take a time out, you're protecting yourself or your marriage
And tell
from
your
having something toxic happen.
and tell your spouse that because the first thing that's going to happen, oh, you're walking away,
Walking out.
like you're just walking out. Like,
But this
give
is
me a
where
minute. Just
But this is where clear boundaries come in. If you say,
Mhm.
I'm when things escalate, we need to set boundaries together. When things are escalated, I could tell that you're heated or I feel like I'm gonna say something that I'm gonna regret. I want to take a pause.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you okay with that? Like, is that a good boundary for us, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so important.
Yep. Okay. And always come back. Like say I like tell him like so there's like that security there. Like I need 2 minutes. I need 4 minutes. Like I'll be right back. I just need to
Yeah.
calm down, you know?
Yeah.
Number 4 is no bringing up old wounds. This one's hard for me. Trying to stay in the present. I feel like fights don't really move forward when you're just like want to bring up the past all the time.
For
Right.
sure.
And if the past, I'm not saying I'm against bringing up the past because I did that for a long time while we were trying to resolve a lot of stuff. But there does come a point where it's like, okay, now you're just trying to start an argument about stuff that we've already cleared up and tried to move on past. But that does need to be cleared up first before you can move on. So if you're like, well, this is what's causing the issues was from the past, then the past problem wasn't cleared up
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
needs to and absolutely needs to be discussed. But when you're working with more like future stuff and you just keep bringing up the past to make it worse, that's just kind of toxic.
Well, and that's probably a good sign that maybe the past hasn't been resolved.
Right. But some personalities, I feel like, and sometimes I struggle with this, is bringing up the past because it feels like sometimes past things are the things that are causing issues in the future, right? So
Sure.
it's just a hard dynamic depending on what you're constantly disagreeing or fighting over. So the boundary is let's stay on this issue. We can talk about the deeper thing another time. Let's just focus on what we're trying to get through today.
I like that too, because how many times do you argue and you're all over the place? Like you're talking about a million different things, and it feels like the argument or trying to resolve goes absolutely nowhere.
Right.
So you're right. Like stick with whatever the issue is, stick with that. And if there's something else you need to be resolved, like talk about that separately.
Hmm.
And I
Or
mean,
just
I'm
try to
totally guilty
disconnect
of
them,
that.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, 5 is no threats, emotional or physical. We solve problems, we don't scare each other. And that one is absolutely needed. Never threaten to leave unless you have talked about a boundary. I need a timeout. Withdraw affection. Use silence as punishment. We used to be really good at that one. We could go days. I'm like, so bug, don't talk to me. That's not nice. I've learned that. Yeah, it's hard because sometimes you need some space, but do it in a respectful way. You're like, I just need to go to bed and sit on this and like talk about that, or be like, I have a lot of thoughts. I need a little bit of time. Like communicate that.
And I think unfortunately some spouses use fear as a way to resolve, thinking they resolve a conflict. Like if a spouse does like is yelling at his wife or does something to put fear and then she withdraws, they think that that's the way the argument's getting resolved, when in reality it's just making things worse. So I think that's one of the worst tactics or things that you could do is getting your spouse to be fearful of
Mm-hmm.
you. You know what I mean? In some way or another, right? Could be
And women do it too. It goes both
for
ways.
sure,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So you just need to set boundaries. Just, I don't know. There shouldn't be any scaring. There shouldn't be threatening of leaving, threatening of divorcing, threatening in any kind of way.
Let's talk about that real quick because in our last episode, we've had some people write us and say, "Hey, I can't believe in your last episode, you guys as Christians are saying divorce should not be up off the table. Here's what the Bible says." Just to clarify our
Mm.
position on that, Amy and I are not pro-divorce, but
Yeah.
if a spouse is abusive or toxic or you're in a relationship, I mean, there are certain times like where that's that's okay, I think. Like
Yeah.
I have a family member that was in a really bad relationship, and the only way out to literally was to get divorced. And
Life saving to
life
get out.
saving.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, Amy and I are very pro-marriage. I mean, obviously, that's what we're doing as a business. That's what our whole career and everything we do is to help people have better marriages and um, better relationships. And so, um,
I don't think that it's bad Christian advice to say that God doesn't want us to stay in abusive marriages.
yeah,
I don't, whatever you believe with the Bible, scripture, whatever about divorce, it's all personal. I don't believe that God would expect someone to stay in abusive marriage. I just don't I think he's a loving God. I don't think he would expect someone that they're breaking
covenants.
covenants in marriage if they are being abused. Those covenants have already been broken by abuse. So
Yeah,
that's the way I feel about it.
so I wanted to hit on that because you kind of said, hey, don't bring up divorce and things like that. And Amy and I've talked about that before. We don't bring up divorce in our marriage, but we also understand that, hey, this is who I married. If Amy just goes totally crazy and whack and completely changes, then that's not the person I married, right? Or vice versa with me, right? So, although we don't ever talk about divorce in our marriage and we don't want that to be an option, um, I think knowing that, hey, if I change as a person or Amy completely changes and she just completely
Goes off the deep
goes
end,
off
whatever
the
that
deep
means.
end,
Yeah.
like, you know, like Amy said, that's not what God wants. It takes two people in marriage. We've made promises, vows with each other that we would do certain things, and
Mhm.
we both have those expectations that we're going to work together as a married couple to keep our marriage happy and
Mhm. Yeah.
fulfill the things that we promised.
So I think the reason you brought that up is because threatening divorce number 5, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's toxic. That's a scare tactic, and I think that that's abusive to to
100%,
be
100%.
threatening anything,
Yeah,
right? In
absolutely.
in a secret way.
You should never threaten that. But I wanted to
Yeah.
clarify
Yeah.
from
Yeah. Okay. So those are the boundaries I loved. I just wanted to talk about. But the last one is G, and it's go implement or gentle follow through. So it's act on what you agreed on and check in later. see how it's working.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much just like the only reason boundaries work is if you follow through with them. It took us in our marriage, it took some time to learn how to argue and fight in a healthy way. It took practice to turn something into a habit, and it doesn't come overnight.
Yeah.
You know
And
what I mean?
And
Like, and
I think
patience.
boundaries are so important. You can set boundaries together and say, hey, look, here's kind of the ground rules. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. I think boundaries are so important, and they protect your marriage. They give you a clear understanding of what's crossing the line, what's
Mhm.
acceptable, what's not acceptable. It's amazing how many couples, when we do a video or an article or whatever on boundaries, it's amazing how many couples comment and say, I can't believe you guys are talking about setting boundaries or rules. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing. Don't you trust your spouse? Don't you? Like, that's stupid. And I really feel like the people that don't have boundaries in their marriage are a lot more likely to have issues because they don't know what's expected, what's not, what's right, what's not right. So I think just sitting down and setting those boundaries together and saying, okay, what are boundaries for both of us, right? Not it's not rules and saying, okay, here's the rules for you, Amy, and here's the rules for you, Nick. There are boundaries together. Like, what do we both agree on that's acceptable, not acceptable? Then there's a clear understanding.
Right. And no matter how long you've been married, if you've been married as long as us or longer, and you're like, our fights still get toxic, our disagreements are still kind of toxic. Like, it's okay at year 30 of your marriage to be like, you know what, starting today, let's set some boundaries because I don't want it to be like this anymore. Like, I would just have to love more peaceful fights that are shorter. Maybe they feel more just like disagreements because I can say, like, we still have fights, but I feel like they're
Yeah,
just little disagreements in our marriage now because of the way we handled them.
for
Not that they
sure.
don't happen. It's just that some people say, what, you guys never fight? And I'm like, no, I don't feel like it's fights. I feel like we have disagreements and I feel like they're pretty respectful.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's a big
when I
difference.
think of fights, I think of a winner and a loser,
Fighting,
and
yelling.
yelling, and
Yeah.
yeah, and the purpose of it is to have a winner and a loser.
Right.
So we look at disagreements and like how do both of us resolve this problem together? Not necessarily individually, but together.
And always like turn to God. I mean, maybe that should be G is turn to God because he can help you calm down. He can help you have more patience, be more forgiving, all those things, right?
Well, I think I'm glad you brought that up because one of the statistics is couples who pray together have like a less than a 2% chance of getting divorced. And that's pretty amazing. That just shows the importance of problem solving, going to God for certain things, maybe things that you're arguing about,
Right.
um, and involving him in, the conflict resolution.
Right.
So,
No, I think that's a great ending to that. So yeah, I think it's possible, no matter how long you're married, to change things around. If you're not happy with something in your marriage, just you can change it. Like you really can. I think that's like hopefully in every podcast we talk about is like if this is struggling, fix it. If you're struggling over here, let's fix it. If you're struggling with this, let's fix it. Like I think marriage is fixable.
yeah, and I
If
think
both people want to fix it, right?
Yeah, and I think so many people assume like, oh, we just can't fix that. That's something we're going to have to deal with
Yeah.
forever. That's not true. There's so many things you can do to make things so much better. And maybe some things can't be fixed, but they can be made a lot better,
Right.
to be a lot more manageable. And I think the biggest thing is just talking and having that good open communication because like we always say, if you have good open communication, almost anything can be resolved when you're
Absolutely.
talking about it and openly communicating.
Absolutely. Love it.
So yeah, go check out if you need some good conversation starters. Let's talk about sex, some things to help with communication, or for your intimacy in general. Go check out our shop.ultimateintimacy.com. We really appreciate all of your support and all of you listening to the podcast.
I wanted to say something. If you're having like arguments about needs in your marriage, I want to just expand on the let's talk about sex book and the card deck. You guys, that's really helpful because it's not just talking about sex, it's talking about emotional connection, what women need, why they need to keep being pursued, why they have a mental load and need to feel like teammates in the marriage. Leading up to that's what's going to make sexual intimacy better on the our Let's Talk About Sex book is 20 Things Wives Wish Husbands Knew and vice versa. And then the husband's side, this is what I wish my wife knew, that sex was more emotionally connecting. It's not just all physical. Like Nate,
Yeah,
my co-author, wrote this whole section talking to the women about things like that. And so I feel like we really tried in that book to talk about the things that are causing arguments in marriage. This is why she
for
feels
sure.
this way. This is why he feels this way. And then give you conversation starters at the end of every chapter. And they're really short chapters, just a couple pages. This is what you should talk about to kind of fix this. And I just think it goes hand in hand with like contention and disagreements in marriage, because the wives are like, I just want you to understand me. And the husband's like, once you start understanding each other and be able to have like respectful conversations, this is why I am the way I am. This is the way you are. And you get those things out. And the card deck that we added to that package is like why that topic is important, and then a couple questions
Hmm.
about all these areas from emotional intimacy clear up to the sexual intimacy and just making your entire intimate life thrive. And it really comes down to healthy communication. So I really hope that that package is helping so many people that are grabbing it, because once you can
Yeah.
set those boundaries and learn how to communicate your needs, it's huge.
Well, and I bet you there's a lot of couples out there that are struggling with that very topic, right? Like
It's lots of
maybe a
topics.
lot of your arguments or conflict is coming because of this, right? Because of
Right.
that feeling like each other's needs aren't being met. So like Amy said, these are a fantastic way to get the conversation started, and you can pick the cards with specific like
Right.
prompts or topics. So you can, before you even read the questions, you can look at the card and see what it's talking
Mhm.
about and start having those conversations. So,
Yeah, so important. So, anyways, yeah, shop.ultimateintimacy.com. It's a great deal. It's a great resource for marriage.
and a
So,
great Christmas present.
yeah.
So check it out. Let us know if you have any questions. You can always email us. We appreciate you listening to the podcast.